everyone, Jessie here with Leadership Lessons Live. I'm really excited to share an interview that Wendy and I had with our colleague Val Douroux about her work as a comedian and how it applies to all things leadership. All that you're going to see here is powered by eCam, so thank you eCam for helping us make us look awesome. And without further ado, here's Wendy and Val. Hi, Wendy. Happy Friday.
Hi, Jesse. Wow, it is so great to be here with you today and to feature one of my favorite people, Val Douroux. And Val is a professional comedian, and she's going to share some lessons with us that leaders can use to really improve their presentations and, really make it much more interesting and enjoyable for the people that they're presenting it to. So glad to have her here and have you here. So what's new,
Yeah.
Jesse? Anything good?
Thanksgiving's next week. I'm looking forward to that. It's just going to be a small little thing with my husband, my baby, and Jane, mother-in-law. And yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So that's going to be great. And I'm excited to be here with you tonight. And Wendy, how did you meet Val?
I met Val through a women's networking group, business women's networking group here in St. George, Utah. And in addition to that, because of our group, Val and I volunteered to work with young women this summer and really empowering them at a girls' camp for girls that were 6 to 13. And we
Wow.
had a blast. It was great.
Wow, that is so cool that you guys volunteered your time in that way. That's awesome.
Hey, thanks.
Um, well, we have some clips lined up of an interview that you had with Val. And I want to share some highlights that I thought were really represented well the conversation that you had with her. So here we go with our first one.
Tell me a little bit about how applied comedy or things that you've learned from being a professional comedian that you can share with others and you do share with others.
Wendy, life is drama and life is trauma. You're not just going to walk through life like it's cream cheese and just glide. You know what I mean? It's going to be hard. And comedy is important to laugh at your hardships. If you can laugh at that person who was challenging to you or any hardship in your life, like you have to be able to take a step back and laugh at the irony. And even if it hurts, even if it's so hard, when you laugh, it releases the tension and allows you some clarity to look at the hardships in your life in a sensible kind of way.
Wendy, that 100% resonates with me.
I what I loved was, you know, Val's talking about laughing, and what I loved was, the most important thing is to laugh at yourself. So that
Mm-hmm.
was really, really great advice. And it really releases a lot of tension. So I'm so glad she said that.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like her motto of life is trauma, that is just going to stick with me. I love that. Just to kind of keep things light, totally. Um, well, you guys continue the conversation, right? You talked about more what comedy is and how comedy can be applied to leadership, right?
Correct, we did, and she really has I think, some great insights on what and how you can use comedy. So let's share those.
Cool. Here we go.
Comedy helps leave a long lasting impression. When you go to some of these networking meetings or you're a speaker, comedy, weaving that into your speech, really helps make you more impressionable and more memorable. When I take the stage in any speaking circumstance, I start with an introduction of myself and a joke. I'm Val Douroux, I'm French, African, Italian, and there's never been a better time to be mistaken for Mexican. That might be a little risque, but I have an interesting last name. A lot of people always ask me how it's pronounced, so sometimes I'll just tell a joke to get that out of the way. I'm Val Douroux with a silent X, and sometimes that X makes me feel dangerous. Okay, that's a really stupid joke, but it's always good to weave jokes in any conversation you're going to have with people because a little bit of humor goes a long way, and it especially goes far in leaving an impression with people.
Uh,
Wendy, I feel watching these clips, I feel envious at the fact that Val is one of your neighbors and in your community. She just seems just like a fun and fabulous person. And these jokes that she has about her name, I love it.
And what I like is she's really not afraid to put it out there either. I mean, she made a joke really about herself and her, you know, ethnic and racial heritage. And I'm like, yeah, right now we better put it out there and we better be prepared to talk about some of those things. And, she does it in I think, a beautiful way. And I think that's a good advice for a leader. Be genuine, be yourself. I mean, you have to know who your audience is, obviously. But I think it's important to not, shy away from some of that. So I really appreciated that she chose to share that little, I'm going to call it the joke about Val with us. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of leadership, the other thing that caught my eye in the conversation you had with her is just like the importance of timing when a leader or anyone is in a moment of public speaking. And I thought she just had some really good things to say about that. So
Timing is everything. Everything. Timing can make or break your joke. And the timing of this garbage man behind me is absolutely terrible for this interview, right? So your timing is really everything in public speaking and in work, being persistent, being the right kind of persistent without being too annoying. Like, you really need to be sensitive to what parts of your speech require the pause and what parts of your speech require that clear, concise delivery. Comedy also is about being concise. So if you can monitor your timing and be concise in your delivery, then you can give a really great speech.
Wendy, one of the things that I loved what Val did in her response is not only like talk about the topic at hand, but model that behavior in which she was describing. Um, I just thought that that was just really well done.
And I so appreciated just the 2 or 3 little lessons she had in there about um, being precise. That's really, or concise, I guess is where she really said. But I tend to, get a little nervous and I run on and I use a bunch of filler words. And I think her thinking about and really sharing with us about pausing and being concise, I didn't really realize those are important parts of timing. So that was great. And one of the things she taught me was also about weaving in, I think she calls it, the action that happens in the scene. She called it a riff. You just riff with it. When that garbage truck came in the scene, it was just crazy. I loved it.
Yeah. Well, Wendy, we keep talking about Val and how awesome she is. And for our viewers that are watching, we have a surprise for you. We have Val. So let's bring in Val. Yay!
Woo!
Hey, Val!
Hi,
So great to have you.
thank you for having me and saying so many good things. Like, if that's all that happens this lifetime, then I could die tomorrow happy.
Well, Val, yeah, Val, we need to see more of your face. You got to move a little to the center. You're a little one side. Oh, there you are. Woo! There's our Val.
Yeah. Val, so I'm watching this interview you had with Wendy, and I wish I was just there with you guys because I feel like we could have had such a fun conversation, but we'll just have to have another one soon. But
Yes.
I would love to know from your perspective, when a leader or emerging leader or anyone is in a moment of public speaking, and they make a mistake, like how do you fix that moment?
I mean, it depends on the kind of mistake, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
some mistakes are a little more detrimental than others. But if they're just giving a speech, they stutter or anything, as long as you call yourself out and you admit it and you're perfectly honest, then chances are you'll make people laugh about it. You just can't let it go under the rug and pretend it didn't happen. You have to acknowledge it and move on.
Mm.
So Val, can you just show us, like, how do you acknowledge it? To, like, make a mistake and then just show us how you fix it. Or not fix it, acknowledge it.
I did this interview with Dave Hawk of Allies, and I stuttered on a word that was like in Earth, but not on Earth. I said the preposition wrong, and then I just said, "What am I even saying?" Next, and it just, just you got to keep the momentum fresh.
Oh, that's great.
I love
And Val, tell us a little bit more about how you work with leaders to train them to use comedy, or give us a couple examples of when you use comedy. What would you tell a leader? I mean, I know you do training. It's not you just get up there and tell really bad jokes all the time. I mean, not you, but other people.
You're like, that was a terrible joke, Valerie. Give us a better example. So, no, real quick though, could I give you another example of one time that I just came? So this last show we did, I dressed like a sister wife, and I was talking about having all these kids and how I could build an army. And then there was nowhere that the joke was going. And so I just called myself out and was like, what am I saying? I'm a sister wife. They don't let me out much. And so I just could, go with my character, acknowledge that I had nowhere to go with the joke, and then just move on with the show. Because the show must go on.
Great
Okay.
point.
Now,
Great point.
I will answer your next question. Like, what do you do for leaders? How do you help them with comedy?
Yeah.
Okay. So, everybody, if you're any kind of leader, you have to communicate with people. So I help leaders look at their speech. I help them insert jokes where there's opportunity. I help punch up their speeches. We also give presentations, and not just me, but way more experienced comedians with corporate business experience. They will do private shows, they'll teach joke writing, and we all teach ways to incorporate comedy into your public speaking and into your work environment.
I could see why you gravitated towards Val and why you saw that you'd just be like a great person to have on Leadership Lessons Live, right? Because our whole point at Leadership Lessons Live is to amplify diverse business leaders and their knowledge and their skills. And who better than someone like Val, who has this history and skill set of being a comedian. And it's so transferable to any leadership setting. So,
Wow. Well, it was just my pleasure to bring her on, and I am just so grateful that she was able to give us her time today. So,
yeah.
I hope everybody enjoyed this, and we, will be back probably next week with our next interview.
With the next interview. So for those who want to learn more about Val and her work, here is her email and the website, Electric Comedy. And Wendy, thank you for taking the time to interview her. For those who want to watch the full interview, that'll be posted on our Leadership Lessons Live YouTube channel. But for now, that's all we have. And Wendy, have a great evening.
Bye.
Bye.